So, good day. It's time for Blaming the Enduser again. Hello, Marijn, and hello, Al.
Hi.
Great that you could make it for this Christmas special. So we are all, of course, ready for that, except Marijn.
Look, I've got a big-ass Christmas tree behind me.
Yeah. Asked you
All
to
right,
put up a Christmas tree.
I don't freaking do Christmas. I can't do it. I can't be bothered to put up a tree, to decorate, whatever. I will eat cookies. I will do that. And I will go to my mom's place and eat all the food that she cooks. I'm happy to. And I'll have some cigars. I'll have some whiskey. I will properly do that. I have some gifts. But I can't be bothered to do anything more.
So you're doing Christmas then.
Sorry?
So you're doing Christmas then.
Yeah, that's my Christmas. Yeah, it's good enough.
It's one of the nice things with using backgrounds, though, isn't it? You don't actually physically have to put any decorations up. You just choose the background that you want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
It saves. It's the way of the future. Saves us all that time of getting stuff out of the loft and putting it up and taking it down again.
Yeah,
This
but
is
it's like one of like that typical the out of the box ones that you get are typically in like this really cool minimalistic loft spaces, and then it just looks like, yo, I'm rich, instead of I'm here in the suburbs somewhere in my tiny ass 20-foot apartment. Yeah. Oh well.
All right. So what are we talking today about? We talk about workplace insights, right, Al? So you have some cool content for us there.
Yeah, I think workplace analytics, the big brother of productivity score. So yeah,
right.
So I've got a slide up. So it's really a high level overview of what I guess workplace. And if you think about all that as it was described to me, the digital noise, the digital exhaust that we make when we're using Office 365, what Microsoft are doing is saying they can use that. So they can use that to identify things like employee engagement, employee well-being. You can then plan, are you going to make changes? You can then actually work out, which teams might be more productive, which teams might be working more efficiently. And then you can actually implement changes and measure it. So one of the things that you can do here is to really say we can take all of the measures of how we use the tools that we're all using day in, day out, but then we can actually combine them with things like HR systems, with those surveys, those well-being surveys that people do to find out how well the different areas of the organization are. We can combine it with dynamics data for sales teams and really work out where areas of the business are struggling, where they're working effectively, where they're happy, where they're productive, and where they're not. So different ways that we can use this information. And I guess one of the key things that as we've now all moved to be working online is kind of how do we actually measure the amount of time we're working versus the amount of time that actually we're working out of hours. So if we measure, we start early in the morning, we send emails, we're on Teams, we're having conversations, we're having meetings. How frequent are those meetings? Are they leaving us enough time to really focus and to actually get work done, or are they just kind of breaking up our day so much that we're not able to actually really work? So taking this kind of information gives us a pattern for how people work, how effectively they work. So if you think about people who might be working all day long, non-stop meetings all day long, versus people who might have significant breaks where they might be actually dividing their day up between family time, relaxing, and working, burning out, who might be actually suffering with work in terms of being overloaded and not having enough downtime, enough family time, because they're working over the weekends, they're working evenings, they're working in the mornings.
Love that.
And then we can work out, advise different teams on how they should improve, how they should change how they work.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of stuff, and all of this stuff that's up on the screen at the moment, the patterns of how we that stuff have from the noise that we make when we're joining meetings, when we're sending emails, when we're sending Teams messages, so we can see all of that. We can also we can actually ask questions, we can get this data out, so we've got Power BI to actually access it, we can see it, we can analyze it, we can put hypotheses against this will make life better for this particular team. We can ask questions about how much is overtime costing us, how much time are people doing over and above what we're paying them to do.
Mm-hmm.
In HR that they're maybe not hitting their targets around their objectives. So there's a lot of different ways that we can use this information.
That's fantastic.
And help.
Mm-hmm.
So and I think one of the things, so I think you guys raised it last time, didn't you, on the productivity score around the visibility of information around an individual.
Yeah.
So this workplace analytics is designed not to show any individual information. So it's all anonymized to the point where you can't have a team smaller than 7 people because you can't maintain the anonymity of the individual with a group smaller than that. So you can only analyze it down to that level. So it's being designed with that level of anonymity in mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I just wanted to think about. Let me rephrase that. I just heard you talking about this all being on the workplace and in general. But then, how can you pinpoint people where things are going wrong? So you can't. So you need to pinpoint the team where it's going wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it very specifically doesn't pinpoint an individual. It will pinpoint a team, and it will highlight sort of outliers, those teams with maybe less engagements with their line manager, where they've got patterns that are obviously not the same as the rest of the organization. So you'll be able to see some of that, but yes, it won't highlight a particular individual.
Mm-hmm. And I had to, this is gonna go on Twitter in half an hour, but I love what you refer to as your Microsoft 365 digital exhaust, or
absolutely.
How did you? I'm not sure. Like all the stuff that we do, there's like an internal combustion engine. There's some kind of residue leaving.
We're polluting everything in terms of all of these little signs, these little marks that we leave as we work in Office 365 and Teams.
I love that. I love that idea. I love that wording. That's awesome. Also, so the previous slide was showing your day, so the working hours.
Yeah.
Now this morning, there was a tweet from Vesa.
Vesa Juvonen.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
About that he was in a meeting from super early to super late because he needs to talk to people in Asia and needs to talk to people in the US. So that's why he's got super long days. And I'm hearing that as well from a lot of people. I've been doing that as well because I just have a lot of customers right now. Plus I've got customers all over the globe. So I'm also in meetings from super early to super late. How is the rest of the household doing that? I also wanted to say, is that the new busy? Is that the new, I still have 600 emails in my inbox that I haven't read yet. Is that the same thing? Like, this is my agenda, it's blocked from early in the morning to late at night because I need to do so many things.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Marijn. I mean, the same a little bit here. I mean, I don't work, let's say, that long hours anymore. I try to because of mental health things, right? I don't want to burn out myself, but still, yeah, I mean, I counted in 1 week that I had 35 meetings in 1 week, which is just crazy. If you think about it, it almost broke the record what I had once in Nokia, where it was 36, and this was like 8 years ago. So it shows that the whole way of working didn't really change. We still have the need of communicating, and actually by using Teams and this chats versus the emails, this whole, let's say, micro messaging all the time gives much more noise and more cloud to the exhaust, like what Al said before. So it's just harder for us to keep up, because I'm a part of several teams, and there's some chatter happening which would be relevant for me for my work, but I just miss it because I cannot follow all those chats all the time anymore. And then people asking me, hey, why didn't you see that message in Teams, which is somewhere buried in in this long chain? So how to kind of get back to the efficiency that you really get the information what you're intended to.
I think it's really a challenge, because when you kind of measure it and you say, if I'm going to have my working day is going to be between 8 and 5, most of us don't work that way, especially when we're at home. The number of people who have walking the dog as a meeting every day, or picking the kids up from school, our day is fragmented now. And if that's the new norm, it'll be very interesting to see how tools like this actually start to measure, do we block out time that is personal time so that it gets excluded, and, kind of have some other indications, because I think none of us are working standard hours working at home. And when we're working with, global clients, we never have probably worked standard hours. But I think where you're talking about the number of meetings, though, one of the things that the workplace analytics does do is to kind of say, you need at least sort of 2 hours to focus. You need to get your head into something, so it can identify where you don't have those periods of time where you're always kind of flipping between different meetings. So that might be a different measure that we use more and more often, is, do we have chunks of time where we can actually focus and just concentrate on something?
Yeah, absolutely. Cool that you say that, because it's the focus hours. I think, a few months ago, Wellbeing suggested me to add focus hours in my calendar. Yeah. Then I said yes, and then now I have these focus hour blocks in every day in my calendar, and I love them because no one books me a meeting there, and I really have 2 hours per day time to get stuff done. Yeah, and it's also why I don't need to work anymore after 6 o'clock. Because
so that was interesting. Yeah. So you had that email come through from My Analytics suggesting that. Yeah. So one of the things that you can do with the workplace analytics is you can actually set up profiles for My Analytics, and you can communicate to the users that way to make recommendations to them for ways of working that are aligned to your organization. But that's
So with the workplace analytics, you can actually drive those My Analytic emails and change the content of it.
Yeah, and change the recommendations.
So cool.
We recommend that you work at least 100 hours every week, otherwise you might get fired.
Yes, you get fired.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's my evil corp hat. Yeah. I'm wearing, okay.
Yeah. But that's really, because that's really powerful, isn't it? When you get those focus hours, and then it turns off Teams to focus time. You don't get any notifications.
But it literally freed my evenings, and this is what I noticed after a while, that I'm not, let's say, behind with work at 5 p.m. and I still need to do this. No, I did them in my focus time, which was really meant for that. Yeah. And all the meetings during the day are around this focus time, because no one can block me a meeting in there because it's busy in the calendar. So for everyone who hasn't done that yet, I would highly recommend to add the focus time in your days.
And then make sure that everybody knows how to use the scheduling assistant to check and see whether you're busy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That's actually, if you're talking about the digital exhaust, then booking in your personal time during the day is more like a Volkswagen Dieselgate thing, I'm guessing.
Good one. Good one.
All right, cool.
I was going to show you a little bit. So Microsoft have actually put together some actually quite a good demonstration of this as well. So let me just quickly show you. So this is a docs.com under workplace analytics, and they've got some BI templates that come with this. But what's really cool about what they've done here is that actually they've got interactive Power BI as part of the demos. So we can see here, this is using test data, but we can see, we've got the measures in there. We can actually see how it updates. So they've got live Power BI that we can actually click through and see, how we're doing, the collaboration hours that people have. So how much time they're spending in meetings, email. But they've, you can see there's 18 pages here that we can.
Yeah. A quick question. So on that first page, it said employees measured 700 and a bit. Is there any way to opt out as an employee?
Great question. So yeah, you actually need to be licensed to actually be included. So you can, the licensing is, I think, is about $2 per user per month. You can license a set of users who are included. So that means you can target particular groups rather than picking up every.
All right.
So yeah, so licensing the right number.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, you can see, weekly collaboration hours, the different levels. And I think one of the things that is really cool about this is that rather than just using Azure AD and the data that's in Azure AD, you can actually bring, so you can get more information and apply this noise back to your HR system, as opposed to just assuming that Azure AD is going to departments, line managers and all of that. So you can actually, you can add a lot more and enrich this data quite a lot.
Yeah, I've never met a company where the AD data was correct for everyone. So
it's a mythical beast, isn't it?
Exactly.
The AD forests of doom. That's how it usually is.
Yeah, you always go in and you say, so is your AD data up to date? No. So yeah, I mean, so I guess, with this you can really kind of see the information, and this is available to everybody just to click through to see what's available. So a really useful tool to be able to just see what's potentially there. And Microsoft are pushing this at the moment, so there'll be funded workshops that they'll be doing and things like that soon as well. So really, some really nice stuff that they're doing.
Yeah, I'm really happy to hear that there is more and more this kind of well-being insights coming out, and kind of monitoring that people don't burn themselves out, because obviously it has a really bad impact on the person, but of course also on the company. When it happens like for too many people, then the company has an issue or a large issue. So preventing that or having, like, say, measures which reduces that risk is of course really interesting. And especially like in our case right now, or in the case of COVID, where you are basically working nonstop from home because you don't have breaks where you need to go to the office.
So I think that's it, isn't it? Everybody's remote now. We're all used to seeing each other on a screen, and it's more tiring, isn't it? Just looking at a screen all day, being in an office, actually just interacting with people. It's so much easier on actually just testing Teams meetings all the time and so yeah, so there's some really interesting stuff. I always think it's interesting that this level of data you know, Microsoft is probably one of the few organizations that has this kind of data that they can actually use to work out how we actually work and what we're actually doing as well. There's not many organizations that have the volume of data to be able to say, well, yeah, Headspace and all of the well-being stuff, we can start to bring it together into a work tool.
Yeah. So is there a consultancy angle for this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think most organizations, you know, once you set this up, it starts consuming the data, and it starts aggregating it so you can. Organizations, if they're going to want to look at this data, either then lift their chin off the floor as they see how many meetings people are actually doing. But I think, you know, it's how can we make life better? How can we make it, you know, make our employees more productive and come up with, I guess that, you know, they're not really technical suggestions. It's change and adoption, and you know, how do we change the way people work?
It's the core of adoption. It's the core of it.
Yeah, and then they can come back and they can measure it a month later and say, you know, can we see that there's been an improvement? You know, so essentially you're using this tool to benchmark certain behaviors, try and change them, come back, measure them later and see, you know, have they improved? And I think because you can bring different data together, you know, you can look at different sources of information as to how productive people are. You know, are they getting through DevOps tasks fast? Are they getting through sales? Are they being successful in how they're engaging? You know, there's different ways that we can bring the workplace analytics data with other measures in an organization to measure, you know, improvements. But yeah, I think this is an insight, but it's really about change and adoption, how you really make people, you know, feel better, change the way they're working, and then measure it and confirm that, you know, you achieve the result. It's probably not that much. There might be some advanced Power BI to ask the questions, get the answers back, merge the data, but it really is change. It's properly looking at change and adoption. You know, organizational psychology, how do people engage? How can we change the number of meetings, the types of meetings, you know, scheduled meetings versus ad hoc meetings, for example, you know, using something like Cortana to actually schedule meetings when people are free rather than just having those standing meetings that you have to do every single week.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, so this is, if I order Workplace Analytics, I let it run, this is the actual report that I'm getting.
Yeah, so there's a suite of reports that you can get. So there's Power BI templates that you can get, and then if you have a particular area that you think, right, well, there's a particular challenge in that area, then you can obviously tailor the Power BI. But as I say, you can also upload other information. So if you are doing, you know, weekly surveys with staff to see how engaged they are, how positive they are, you can bring that information into it and adapt the reports to combine that data and give you richer insights.
Yeah. Nobody filled out the form, so they're not engaged.
That's the kind of thing. Yes, yeah. Or they've all given it a 10 out of 10. So yeah, they've just got a bot in the background answering it for
next,
them.
Next. Yes. Isn't that where RPA is coming in? Like automatically just fill out everything.
Yeah, exactly. Every week you get the link. Yeah. So I mean, there's quite a lot of out of the box.
Oh, this is awesome. This is definitely awesome. So this is about £2 per user per month?
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So if you've got, most people already have the Office 365 license, so an e-license. So yeah, and it's an add-on. You buy a volume of them. There's a minimum of 100. So you need a minimum of 100 people. Again, it's the anonymity and the privacy factor.
Of course.
But
yeah, because I was thinking if I would just buy 20 and I would do sales for let's say 2 months, and then after 2 months I'll grab those licenses and give them to HR for 2 months, and then I'll just circle them around my organization.
Yeah, I mean, you could, and you could do that. You could start with, senior leadership team, get them to change, and then look at a particular department and iterate through.
Yeah.
Okay. Al, maybe one final question. We are running a bit out of time, but you said that you could measure different things with workplace analytics. But could you, let's say, scope something in particular? Let's say I want to just measure.
No, you see, no, keep it in your pants. It's not a measurement contest. No, it's not that kind of.
We've already done the measuring.
No. But anyway. Okay, Marijn, shut up. So, yeah. So back to the question: Is there a way to really, like, let's say, I use the word focus now, focus to some particular part, or I'm just interested in one application, or is it basically just the whole thing?
No. So there's quite granular information available in there. So yeah, I mean, you can look at the different types of information that you're pulling out, different services that you're using, different ways that you're collaborating. So you've got that kind of same kind of, it's pretty much the same data that's driving things like the My Analytics, the productivity score. So you have the ability to tailor your queries to actually refine it down and say, actually, we want to just pull out, how we're using Teams, how many Teams meetings we're using. Okay. And that type of engagement. So you could use this to support a change process. You could, if you wanted to measure the adoption of Teams or the adoption of particular features, then yes, there is definitely a use case to not just the well-being. That's probably the most relevant these days. But you could be using this just to do the adoption of Teams or change to support in a particular area.
Yeah, because that's probably what customers are looking for. So, for instance, they are rolling out Teams now organizational wide, and they would really like to see in detail how the adoption of Teams is working and what are the different, let's say, fumes they could sniff on.
Absolutely. So, yeah, they can sniff that.
Yeah.
On. There's got to be a great presentation with this, doesn't there? Sniffing.
Oh, absolutely.
But yes, I mean. So yeah, I mean, you can tailor this to how you want to change the way an organisation works and what questions you want to answer.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I think time's up. Any last words?
Well, I think this will be a big thing for the new year. Making the prediction around how this will be used. I think Microsoft will start really promoting this because I think they've got the insights into how we work. So I think we can expect this to be becoming more and more prominent in organizations.
As I said, I find this the core for user adoption to. The problem with user adoption always was that you created something and threw it over the fence, and then you looked what happened. And mostly what happened is that nothing happened, or users got frustrated.
And down, yeah.
So, and now you really have a tool to see what's really happening. As Marijn said nicely, in the combustion engine, in the internals. And so it's a very vital point or part to make your user adoption measures better. So I really love this. This is super interesting.
This is actually recycling your exhaust.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. Christmas, Marijn.
No, this whole digital exhaust concept has got me thinking. Yeah.
It's definitely been recycled.
Al, you need to coin that phrase, definitely.
So they've got Microsoft do some training for partners around it, and that's where I heard it. They talk about it internally as that digital exhaust for this.
Okay.
That's
cool. Okay. Hey, on that bombshell, thanks a lot, Al, for being our guest, our last guest of 2020 of the infamous year.
So very fun, yeah. Well, thank you guys for having me.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Can I
Super
just close off with this and feel free to chime in? It's the season to be jolly. Oh, come on, guys. I was hoping to get a la 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 la. Okay, one more time. It's the season to be jolly.
La 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 la.
All right. That's true
Goodbye.
2020 style.
Have a good Christmas and Happy New Year.
All right. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.